and we do have a quorum, and the agenda was properly posted, so I'll call meeting to order. We'll move to item 3, public appearances, public's opportunity to speak about any subject that is not a specific agenda item. We do have someone here in the room, but they're here for a specific agenda item. If you would like to speak on something not on the agenda, please raise your hand. I think they're here for a different agenda item, right? Steve and Ryan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, great. Hearing none, then I will keep moving along to item 4, discuss and consider the minutes of the Parks, Recreation, Forestry Committee meeting on May 28th, 2026. Any comments or edits?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Motion, can I have a second?
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carries. Then item 5, discuss and consider Juniper Hills, aka Lindstrom property, parkland dedication. We talked about this a little bit. Was it last month?
Last month.
And we have another kind of concept, and then our next item, we'll funnel back into that to talk about the master planning for the Juniper Hills parkland dedication. So we'll start out with kind of this concept, parkland dedication. Sean, kick it over to you.
Yeah, I'll just go real quick. This looks a little different from the last one you saw. Steve, who's going to jump in here in a moment, really worked on, this is about as good as we could hope for with the terrain that is currently there. So we obviously have a large flat area right in the center that we can, Steve just showed a 325-foot baseball field, also I don't know if that's full size, but a pretty large soccer field that we could fit into that area. So I'm happy with this overall, and I'll just kick it to Steve.
You might still be muted if you're talking, I'm not sure. Or maybe we have to promote you. Hold on. Yep, there we go. Okay, I can see you unmuted.
All right, I think I got promoted.
Yep.
Thank you.
We can hear you.
Great, thank you. So yeah, this one's kind of the subject of a couple calls that Sean and I've had, and we with the parks team. I kind of love it. I think it's really elegant. You can see we kind of settled on that parking lot on the western side. There was enough room in there for about 34 cars. I think there's a nice sense of entry. An idea is just to have a boulevard at that entry point, just for an opportunity for some really nice signage. From there, you've got the play area that can be, surrounding it along with the building. Both those things could be added at a time later as funds surface. But I think this gives us the ability to get a nice, large, flat area that's very flexible to use. That'll be kind of based on the survey that you guys do and the work you undertake with the community to see what kind of planning is required. You also saw we kind of surrounded a couple points of egress and ingress in the park connections for, my thought was biking. So you just bring some bikes in there so that kids and adults can kind of get around and use the park more. I think it's a great approach to it. By putting that shelf kind of in the middle there, we can sort of eliminate some of the costs associated with grading these parks. I mean, that stuff does get expensive to create large flat play areas. And that's something that's really best coordinated when we do the second phase of this subdivision. So that's kind of what we're looking at, and I hope you like it.
Thoughts, comments?
Yeah, I'll talk. It's a vast improvement from what we saw last week or last month. One addition I would probably try to add, just on a safety perspective, on the entrance opposing the parking lot side, that bike path, could we widen that just a little bit? So if we had an emergency vehicle or an ambulance could get in there, in case there's an injured player or someone in that park, if they can't get into the main parking lot, it's kind of a second point of egress. I know with North Lawn, with the softball fields, we have that on the backside. Just, if you make it wide enough that maybe an ambulance could go down that bike path there. That's all.
Yep.
Otherwise, it looks great.
Do you happen to know You happen to know the dimension you like to see there?
Just something that would fit, I don't know, if it's 10 feet wide, something an ambulance could drive on.
Steve, I think, yeah, just our normal 10-foot path would be acceptable, because we would
Yeah.
put some sort of gate in front of that to allow bikers and pedestrians through, but then we could open that, so I think
Yep.
a 10-foot path, the 10-foot path. I'm assuming that's what you're showing there?
Yeah, probably, but we'll make sure. That was the intention, to get safety vehicles in there.
Great. Other comments, thoughts from the committee?
As Steve mentioned, this would be, I think, dedicated in the first phase, but not really, nothing will happen with it until the second phase. So we're probably looking, in a perfect world, Steve, what, 3 to 5 years maybe before we saw this?
No, we'd be dedicating this in the second phase, which would be within 12 months of the first. So you
Okay.
could count on this coming your way June of 2027.
Awesome.
That's when
We'll,
you take dedication of the land.
we'll hold you to that.
Yeah, no, it's in the development agreement. Yeah. And so you could expect that we will be grading this out and seeding it in conjunction with you guys when we do that second phase. So, I mean, there should be a flat, usable park with grass in it in June of 2028.
Awesome.
And then I think the nice thing about this plan is the rest of it can come in later as funds become available.
I have a question about the northwest. Is that, it looks like it's a steep grade. Is there anything, could that be like, is it steep enough for sledding? Or even up
Maybe.
in that
Yeah,
upper,
I don't know.
between those houses, what was that gonna be used for?
This space here?
There was really no plan for it. That berm is sort of a hill, that's sort of a peak. Yeah, I don't know. That's something we could definitely play with. It wasn't planned to be for sledding, but that's very fun. I mean, I think this whole thing needs to be programmed. So Sean, I don't know how literal this plan is until you get through the public process.
Yeah, I mean, overall, it's not, and we'll master plan this, so that leads to the next item on the, but it could be. Steve, do you have any sense of how high that berm might be?
I do have a grading plan. I'll follow up, Sean. I'll send it to you before I leave today.
Okay.
I don't know off the top of
Yep,
my head.
that's perfect. All stuff for down the road, but great.
Yeah, otherwise those contour lines like along the south portion look pretty close together. That might be enough for, maybe little kiddos.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the far northwest corner, I don't know if we covered that last time, like where the very corner of the street, that's the neighborhood HOA-owned pool.
Yep, so in
Yeah,
that
so-
box right there is the pool.
It's going to be, yeah, a beautiful, I think, recreation area for this community. I love the walking path around. Get people of all ages. You can take little kiddos out to learn how to ride bikes on it. I mean, I think this is going to be a wonderful asset for this area. I really like this concept a lot.
And Steve, is it correct that you'll be at the pool daily doing your best David Hasselhoff and being a lifeguard?
Yep, I'm very European, all Speedos.
Oh, boy.
So if there aren't any other comments on this portion, then we can talk about, like what comes next on this, and that's to take this concept into an actual master plan where we can, get details down a little, drill down some details. So
Do we need a motion
Oh,
on
yeah,
this?
so item
Kind
5,
of-
it is a motion on this concept and parkland dedication. So I guess we're kind of looking, this isn't all like set in stone, but this is what the dedication would look like. I think the Plan Commission and Village Board are looking for that direction as they approve the plat, that committee approves of this.
I'll make a motion to approve this conceptual plan and move forward with this to the board. Second.
Great, thank you. Motion and second then to move forward with this concept plan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carries. Great, thank you. So now,
Thank you, Steve.
yeah, thank you. So to move forward with, getting our details, then Sean added in a email from Josh Straka at Strand about what it would look like for this park planning effort, master plan, detailed. I don't know, Sean, if you kind of want to go through about, kickoff meeting, work with the committee, work with the developer to get the grading at the park.
Yeah, this is a pretty standard agreement that we do with Strand on, to prep for projects like this. The one thing that we need to consider, that I'm asking you to consider tonight, is if we can take this money out of the Park Development Fund in order to keep this process moving. If you guys are okay with it, then we would take it to the board on July 20th, and then we could really start that process sooner than later. So the intention is to have that park master plan the best that we can, so that it kind of it gives us an idea of what we're shooting for down the road, as well as it helps Steve, kind of sell some lots there as well. So that money would be taken out of the Park Development Fund, but we would also recoup that money with fees that will be collected from this project. So we're kind of just borrowing it for now, but it's money that we would have to spend at some point down the road anyways, and I would prefer that we did it sooner than later.
What is the ballpark on the Park Development Fund and how much does it cost?
Park Development Fund, Cameron will be in July to talk about that. He's still sorting through some things with Shady Grove and what that finally looks like, but it's very healthy.
Okay.
It's very healthy still, yes.
Yeah. Do it.
Yep.
Make a motion to approve the process to move forward with Juniper Fields as outlined.
Oh, you've done.
All right, I have a motion and second then on item 6. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye. 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 Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carries. All right, so we'll see that then starting potentially next month then.
Yes.
Great. Then item 7, discuss the pier in the 5th addition to Westlawn. Did you want to move up the cottonwood trees since Charlie's here?
Sure,
And we can do
okay.
the pier after that? Okay. All right, so then if that's all right with the committee, we're going to switch 7 and 8 since Charlie's here patiently waiting. We do, I was contacted by Charlie and Jenny Rogers about cottonwood trees, and of course, being in the Midwest, we're all familiar with cottonwood trees and the shedding of their seeds in the early summer. So they sent a bunch of information. I tried to summarize. There are some municipalities around Wisconsin that regulate planting and maintenance, and some even go as far as removal of cottonwood trees. So there's kind of various lengths that different municipalities have gone in, like no new cottonwood trees could be planted, cottonwood trees that need to be treated to reduce how many seeds they put out. So there's a number of different ways. So Charlie and Jenny were hoping that we would consider perhaps looking into implementing one of those types of ordinances in Cottage Grove, due to kind of the nuisance and the potentially hazardous impacts of the cottonwood seeds. So Charlie, you did submit a wish to speak form on this item, so tried to introduce it a little bit if you wanted to have some comments or.
I don't know how much got into the packet.
It was a pretty high level, just summary, 1 page about how the cotton impacts outdoor environment, clogs AC vents, collects in mass, accumulates along fence lines, posing fire risk, and sometimes neighborly efforts may not have change. So for the benefit of the community, you might want to consider addressing it with an ordinance. And then I gave a couple just brief examples from Beloit, Franklin, McQuantico, Madison, Racine, just high level of how they regulate cottonwoods. So that's,
The biggest thing for me is the concern with fire. If anybody goes online and asks for a cotton fluff, how it ignites and burns, well, I live next to the corn filling facility, which produces quite an enormous amount of corn dust, and then also next to a chemical plant. So this stuff burns incredibly fast. Generally, it does not ignite other things, but there's videos of like a fence being ignited, a straw bale being ignited, and the majority of this shedding happens during the festival. So the entire back lot, parking lot behind our house is basically covered in cotton seeds. So if somebody discards a cigarette, it goes up pretty fast. So for me, it's a safety issue, especially where we live. The other concerns is, I can show you some photographs if you want to pass it around of what it does to our garden.
yeah, I think Sean had sent him those too, so we make sure to have them in the record. But yeah, if, I have copies of them if you want to pass them, pass them around.
This is
That'd be
the
good.
main one. And this is before it rains. And then after it rains, it becomes an impervious mat. And this was just this year. The other problem that every 3 to 4 years, they have what's called a mass shedding. So this year it was 2 to 3 inches. The year before, it was like 6 inches, covering everything. And so one cigarette, and it's a real problem. The tree in question for us, like we've talked to our neighbor and tried to resolve it. We even, excuse me, we even offered to pay for it. I think what I would hope is that I don't think we should have an ordinance where everybody's got to cut down their trees, okay? But there is a treatment for the trees that, while I could not get a specific dollar amount, it ranges on the age of the tree and the size of the tree between $150 and $500. So if people really love their tree, which I love my trees too, if we could get an ordinance where they need to treat them, either remove them or treat them. That's what I would hope would be the best solution. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer them.
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. We have questions. We also have James, our forester, here. Thanks for coming tonight. And we haven't had trees on the agenda too much, so I'm glad you could be here since we do.
My recommendation with the cottonwood issues, we did a tree inventory, the last one was 2020. Being that there are no cottonwoods in the public right-of-ways, we have them in our outlots, wooded outlots, which are basically unmaintained. And we have the drainages and the retention areas, the storm water retention areas. They tend to grow in the lower areas where there's lots of water. For example, I planted a tree on Progress Drive by Vilas Road, and that's along the Door Creek there. And a gentleman asked if we had anything in place for removing a cottonwood because he had an agreement with the neighbor backed out. So in this case, an ordinance would be a tool where the village could request a cottonwood removed in that case, if it came to that, with tree removal in particular. But again, we don't have cottonwoods. They're on the prohibited street tree list, so we don't deal with them unless there's in a retention area, for example, that's causing a storm water issue with the movement of the water. So, for example.
Thanks, James. We also have a firefighter in the room. Have they talked, Kevin, and fire departments about Any hazards?
No, we haven't. I mean, the stuff's obviously flammable. It gathers in your gutters, it gathers in corners and whatnot. A cigarette would definitely ignite it. It would start something on fire. Is it a danger? Yeah, of course, it starts a fire. It's dangerous. I'm kind of torn on this one. I like the idea of making people have to treat them first. I do know Charlie's neighbor, very nice lady, and she's very partial to her tree. So I would hate to like force someone to have to remove their tree if that's their shade and if they're, somehow attached to it. But making them maybe treat them would be a good alternative instead of trying to strong arm people and having to make them remove them, if that is effective. So.
Are you saying, since they're not the village trees, in this case, this woman would have to incur the cost of removing the tree or treating the tree to like a tune of $500?
So, do we have an ordinance that covers emerald ash borer? Like, do people have to treat those on their private property?
They don't.
Okay.
No.
Can-
I'll quickly add to that comment. The ash trees, I've got about a dozen left on private property that are lingering, say half live, half dead, as a lingering food source. The next step where I'm at is I'm 10 years into treatment, and it might be advantageous if we are going to stop treatment, which we're looking at possibly next year, to send letters in a good faith effort to get rid of the lingering food source. Ask those, say, 12 homeowners to take those trees down before we would stop treatment.
Because then they could potentially spread back to our existing ash.
Correct. If we leave the lingering food source, we stop treatment, they could come back to the healthy trees, which after 2 years, the treatment wears off, and we have now moved from a 2-year treatment to 3 with the lower insect pressure.
So just trying to compare, like asking residents to treat a private tree, like that, it would just be a letter asking them to do it because we don't have an ordinance that covers it. Is that right?
In this case, it would just be an ask them to, it would be removal, not treatment, because these trees are already half
Sure.
dead. They're too
Okay.
far gone to treat.
Okay. I was trying to, think about kind of that sort of asking residents to do something on their privately owned tree. So Charlie, have another,
I just wanted to add, in Wisconsin, you cannot buy a female cottonwood tree. You can get them online though, okay? And as I mentioned before, our neighbor we love, we offered to pay for the tree to be removed and then plant a new tree. I understand she didn't want to do that. But if this ordinance passed, we would still work with our neighbor to split the cost of the treatment. I mean, we want to be good neighbors, but at the same time, you should try to get this out of your screens. It's impossible. We have solar panels and they're completely covered underneath with this flammable material. And again, like I said, I live next to a corn filling facility.
Yep.
And there's so much corn dust around all year round, even when they're not filling it. And now you're adding something to ignite it. And then I live also next to a chemical plant.
Yep.
So,
Well, yeah, I mean, we know that you're trying to be a good neighbor. You are a good neighbor, Charlie, by far. You're talking about nuisance trees as far as emerald ash borer and whatnot. Couldn't we have an ordinance written up as far as a nuisance tree, as far as a cottonwood emerald ash borer? And then ask the residents to treat them, or make an ordinance that they should treat them? Kind of like not just go after cottonwoods, but do like the nuisance tree, yeah, like one ordinance.
and I would not support requiring people to cut their trees down. I mean, especially on private property. That's just out of the realm of the ballpark. But I would encourage the treatment of trees and again, neighbors work with neighbors generally in Cottage Grove. So I'm just hoping to not have a fire in my backyard. Oh, and Alcevia also, we've reached out to them because they have one female cottonwood tree left. They've removed the other ones. And the last we spoke to them, they were interested in removing the last one too. Because again, for them, fire is not a friendly item. So, I mean, the biggest thing is I want to be reasonable. And we are all reasonable people, I think. Okay, so hopefully we can find a middle that makes 50% of the people happy and 50 of them that are just like, I wish we had something better, you know? So thank you for your time.
It feels like what everybody has kind of said, that is a good middle ground, right? I mean, I don't want to be so aggressive that we're asking people to cut their trees down, and this seems like a good graduated, opportunity to do what you've shared, James. I think, Kevin, what you're saying to include emerald ash borer. I have an ash tree, which I've treated. So I'm all for that. That's on personal property. So I think that's a way to, and for future trees that we probably will have come through that are experiencing other things, that might be a good precursor to get ahead of that so we can say, hey, we have this to draw from. So I would be in favor of that kind of meeting in the middle, kind of guidance, if that helps.
So I have a question about what that looks like. So let's say we agree there's an ordinance and I have a cottonwood and it needs to be treated. Then what? You expect, is there guidance? Where do I get it? How do I do it? Does James come out and do it? We pay the village? How does that all work? And how do you prove that you've done it? And I don't know. I agree, it sounds like an issue, so I'm just taking it to the next step of how does that get done?
So typically, we do not get involved in private tree things unless it becomes a hazard. I'll send out emails if someone has a dead tree that could fall into the right of way, onto the street, onto the sidewalk, damage somebody else's house. We will get involved there and tell them you've got a month to get rid of that tree, or we will do that but that's the extent of as far as we get involved in that sort of thing. So with this, I agree with Penny. It would have to be like some sort of an ordinance, and our ordinances right now don't call out trees. So I'm wondering if we dig into this, if it could fall into the nuisance type of ordinance that we have, which we can absolutely investigate. But I think if we're we can't really make it a suggestion. It almost has to be like an ordinance, and then we would need to figure out, what is the time frame that is allowed? Is it 2 weeks, a month, a year, whatever that is, or are we just, and how do we, all the things you said, how do we know that they did that? How do we know that it was treated? I think there's things involved that are all doable, but we would have to investigate on how the best way to make that happen.
Just thinking about, this covering, cottonwood might be, yes, a good place to start, but like we talked about, there's other tree diseases or pests that can become problematic. Is it the spongy moth that it's called now, right? Those are things that maybe in the future, if they become widespread problems, do you think that we might want to have a policy broad enough that we could update it? Like, it's hard to update an ordinance, but if there's if the ordinance points to a policy, I don't know, James, do you think that there's other tree issues that could be coming down we might want?
Yeah, if we make it broad enough to cover the bases so we don't have to revisit every little thing that comes up, maybe the wording. The noxious weed ordinance is very broad, and we have had requests for different weeds like bull thistle, garlic mustard, different things. So if we can keep it not only disease, but maybe insect as well, specify that. So it encompasses more than one problem, disease versus insect.
Yeah, ordinances are set in stone, but if the ordinance would be like nuisance trees, or have it directed to like a list that maybe the Parks Department or the village would have, and then you would have control of it as far as emerald, cottonwood, anything that would pop up. Because I know, when did they have the big emerald ash borer thing? It was like 2008, I think.
It came out in 8.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
But like when something like that pops up, then you would add that species of tree to that list. So you wouldn't have to change the ordinance. It would just go to that list, and then we would keep track of that nuisance list.
But yeah, back to it would have to somehow, I don't know how we would enforce it if, I mean, you could enforce it if someone turns you in that it's not treated or something along those lines. But it would kind of be a self-reported sort of, if someone complains about your tree and then we can enforce the ordinance and they could prove whether it was treated or not. Is that, I guess maybe we need a legal team to like weigh in on how that would work.
I'm curious how like the state handles things like that with so many of the invasive species of everything. Like what do they have set forth when it comes to things like that?
Yeah, that's a good question too. So it sounds like we might have interest in getting more information. Is that kind of the direction from legal team, maybe from any of your counterparts that have experience in this, or?
What direction do you want to go with it? I mean, like, do you want to see a period of time, you know, either treat or remove? Those are your two options, and then a period of time. I need to like direct legal in a direction to go.
Yeah, it'd be helpful to know what they do state-wise, like what Amy said. I wouldn't say treat or remove. I would be like, what can we do to enforce something? Whether it be you have 6 months to treat, and then you carry that proof that you treated that tree, and then you have to do it every other year or something like that. You carry your record of treatment. If you have potentially a nuisance tree, you should have proof of that. And then companies like Good Oak or Barnes or something like that, they treat trees. It's like $150, $500, but if you love your tree, $500 is a drop in the bucket compared to 10 grand to remove a tree, so. Well, it could be more than that, it could be 20.
James, do you have any experience with people treating or hearing about treatment of cottonwood trees for?
I have not heard of any proactive, let's say proactive effort to target cottonwoods. Like I say, they tend to grow in low areas where a lot of people aren't willing to go in there and deal with cottonwoods other than removal if they're a hazard leaning towards a home, or that's been my experience. And again, we don't have them in the public right-of-ways, and everything may be in a drainage where it's not a hazard to the public. I've literally only had one or two in the 25 plus years I've been here, and they were in retention areas. And it was marginal whether they were a hazard or not, so we just dealt with them.
Yeah, some places have a lot of cottonwood. Monona comes to mind. There's always cottonwood everywhere in Monona, but you know, they're a very low area, so that makes sense.
And again, being on the edge of the township on a west wind, a lot of it's just coming out of the township.
If were there any other trees I mean, I don't know if there's any other, like box elder or anything. I mean, I would assume we have a list of trees that we don't plant on our public, like in parks or on street trees and
We have a
such.
prohibited list, and that is because people have come to us with some odd requests for street trees, and on the list, no, we can't do that. For example, black walnut,
Oh, sure, that makes
messy,
sense, yeah.
But if somebody were
Toxic
to,
to
if you want to
pets.
plant a tree in your backyard, you're not going to contact
Right.
us, and there's not a darn thing we can do about
Right,
whatever
right.
they plant there.
Yeah. Okay, so, we kind of have some things to ask legal about and counterparts, if there's experience with treating cottonwoods. Other things, we are hoping that, I don't know, do we have to refer this up to the board if we're going to spend legal time on it?
We would, but I think, based on what I'm hearing, it's likely we should bring this back next month, and hopefully I can have some more information, and then you can make a recommendation. I haven't really talked with legal about this because I wanted a direction first from the committee as to which way you wanted to go. So I think I'll just gather information and bring it back in July if you guys are okay with that.
Maybe, because I think you were asking for some more guidance. I don't know if you have enough of it, but I mean, maybe using the document that Heidi provided, and we do have other cities. And, some of the questions were, are those cities requiring people to pay, for the removal? Do
Right.
the cities pay for it? Do they pay for treatment? I mean, there's, 6 examples that she provided, and it looks like it varies on how they do that. So maybe getting that guidance would be helpful for us to craft a policy or guidance from that.
Okay.
I know it's not, Charlie, I want to give you an opportunity if there's anything else you want us to consider, or, it sounds like this is going to be a little bit of a longer term process, so.
I know how government works. So,
Okay.
no, I appreciate you guys' time. And the only thing I would add is, please Google cottonwood and how it burns. Because like I said, I'll finish with, for me, it's about fire and living next to a chemical plant and a corn filling facility. You don't get many second chances with those two, okay? But I really appreciate your guys' time and listening to me.
Thanks for coming tonight. All right, so Sean, you got some direction on that. That'll be back then next month also. So then we'll move back to item 7, discuss the pier in the 5th addition to West Lawn.
So, I'm going to share my screen here. If you remember back to 2018-ish or something, when we went through Red Hawk, we have that section of trail that goes through West Lawn that connects those little pocket parks. And part of the improvements that we did is we added a pier to that large pond on the north end. Since then, let me figure out how to share my screen. Here we go. So since then, this is what, thank you to Heidi for getting us this picture, but this is how the pond has grown, and those are pretty much all cattails. It's really not usable. We've had I should talk into the mic, sorry. We've had a couple of neighbors ask, what the heck is going on with that. I've talked with Kyla, Public Works, and they really don't have a budget for removal of, cattails. I kept wanting to say cottonwoods. Cattails, and they're not really sure how we're going to manage that. They've come in a couple of different times in the winter and cut those back, and they continue to grow. So really what the question is here is, do we want to pull it? Do we want to pull that pier out of there? It really, as you can see, and I'm sorry, Heidi had other pictures, but my computer's not working. As you can see, you can't even get to the pond from that pier, so there's really no point in it being there. It's been brought up, like, could we relocate that to a different pond? Well, it's not necessarily that simple. That is 100% possible, but if you look back at this picture, we have a ADA path that gets us to that pier. We would have to think about adding things like that, probably modifications to the pier itself because it was built for this particular pond. But most importantly, like, do we want to leave it there? I don't foresee any sort of treatment on those cattails anytime in the future.
Thoughts about this?
So, sounds like we don't really have a place to put that if we took it out. So that says to me that why would we take it out if there's no place to put it? It sounds like I don't disagree because cattails are invasive and they're just going to keep coming back. You're going to have an ADA path that leads to the edge of a pond, right? So I guess I'm questioning, why would we even move it if we don't really have a place to go with it unless we do? And if we do, then that's a different discussion.
And honestly, I don't believe that if this was done today, that Public Works would allow this to be in the retention pond.
Yep.
You know, so that kind of factors into, can we move it? You know, you see the one down across or next to Foundation Dance, and there's a lot of activity at that one, and that's been brought up, you know, why don't we just move it there? Well, it's not really that simple, and nor do I think that Kyla would want this back in her retention ponds. So it's either we leave it and it just is what it is, or we pull it and figure out a place to store it until, if and when there's ever an opportunity to use a pier again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like calling it a pier because it doesn't touch the water. It's more of an observation point. It is all fenced in, so no one's gonna roll off of it or whatnot. Just doing a quick Google search, there's a spray that you can spray on cattails to remove them, if you would find a company that would do that. But I mean, that would definitely get the cattails and stuff down. I remember some of the neighbors had like paddle boats and stuff like that. They would drag paddle boats in there. But I don't know. I'd probably just spray it and then leave that observation point there.
So really, direction I'm looking for from you guys. Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I have been out on that observation deck. I would agree. It's definitely an observation deck. I've been out on that observation deck many a time. Not much to see because you're literally staring into the cattails. Having said that, there's something going on in those cattails. So my personal experience and what I think is leave it there. I feel like it would almost be more to take it out and, like you said, store it or whatever, than to just leave it as it is.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a resale on pier things, but you're right. It's either it stays there or we figure out a place to dump it, that it's gonna eternally probably likely be in that same spot.
Yeah, I think as long as it's not causing a problem and there's nothing falling apart with it, nobody can get hurt, just to leave it as is for now, because we don't have a place to put it. I don't think it makes sense to store it, because I agree, it'll just forever be stored then.
Yep.
It'll be in the way.
Yeah, and Jay brought up a good point too, like then just having a path to the edge of a pond, like that seems like kind of a dangerous deal.
And if you remember correctly, when this was put in, that was touching the water. You know, it was that's how much it's grown in, you know, in the 7 years. It was actually very cool when it went in there, but, so, okay. I don't think we necessarily need a motion or anything on this. If you guys are all feel like we'll just leave it until, it may come down the road where it does need to come out for maintenance or whatever, and we'll cross that bridge, and I'll let you guys know if that's something that happens.
I like the term observation deck, though.
I do too. I do too. Yeah, it's no longer a pier, it's an observation deck. It's the Laufenberg observation deck.
So I have a question about those cattails. In another 7 years, are they going, I mean, will the pond eventually just be a cattail pet thing? I mean, I don't know anything about
Yeah, that, I
things
don't.
like that.
I mean, based on what we see, I gotta think yes. Yeah, that eventually that might all be cattails, and you know, and the Public Works really doesn't want to mess with stuff until they have to, until it becomes like an obstruction, that it's definitely backing up, you know what I'm saying? That there's a reason to do that, and so I know that they're aware that there is spray and things that they can do on that, but budget doesn't necessarily allow for that. And, you know, are we going to continue to do that with every single pond moving forward? I think, you know, that's more of a question for them, but that's where we're at.
Yeah, and I guess, like you said, if it messes with the functionality of the retention pond, like that would be the other question. And some of my neighbors have brought that up in the past, like, does the water really infiltrate and drain the way it's supposed to with that many cattails? So that's definitely a question that, you know, they have. And I know there's been a stormwater study and discussion about stormwater utilities, so I'm sure maintenance of the ponds is going to be coming up at the village board and through Public Works and utilities. in the near future.
Great, so it's staying put. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Then item 9, discuss and consider community snake project with a rock snake picture. I think Penny sent this to Sean. And funny enough, the day he told me about it, I was at the Marshall Public Library and they have a snake in front of the library too. So I think it's really cool. I don't know if Sean's going to pull a picture, Sean or Penny, if you want to talk about that.
So I brought this up a few summers ago, I think 2 summers ago, and we, kind of tabled it and we decided we were going to do it. But then it was the end of summer and school was starting, and then next summer came. And then Cindy Culm-Nelson contacted me. She wanted to do the snake for the closing of Taylor Prairie School. So I made the snake head. I brought the snake head in. And they're done with their project now. So we have a snake head.
If you hold it like this, they'll see it on the camera.
And so all we really would need is a sign and a location and letting people know that they could add their painted rocks to the snake.
I love it. What do you think of signage or anything? Did you have a chance to bounce this off Trista or anything?
Have not.
I mean, I'm happy to make a sign.
Could you make more snake heads? I mean, if we do like a park tour, like some of our newer parks, if we put a snake head in each park and people could tour the parks and add to the snakes, that would be kind of neat.
That's an idea. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, I was kind of leading on to that too. I was thinking that is something that we could also use like a scavenger hunt, and that gets people visiting the parks, so.
So
My whole backyard is full of these rocks, so I could make more. Could be my summer project.
So we'd want a place to start the first one, and then if we get some more snake heads, then you could just post on our social media. I spy a new snake at another one of our parks. I don't know. Add yours and.
Yeah, Red Hawk Community, Bakken, Shady Grove, all them new parks.
Yeah, and Houston has new equipment, so that would be another one maybe people haven't been to in a while with the new equipment.
Initially, I thought of community where the pour and play, because there's no grass, the snake could just be along there, no mowing considerations. But it's not as well visited as some of the other parks, so.
This maybe.
Yep, that's gonna do it. That'll do it.
Anyway.
Yeah, I guess that would be to make sure the maintenance guys know where they're located. That would kind of be the logistics, and then social media posts about it. Is that something you think that we can add into there?
Sure, absolutely. Did we want to start at community then?
I like that. That's where I always thought it should be.
Well, I'm there a lot
Yeah.
playing pickleball, so I can make sure.
Keep an eye on it.
Guard over the
On it.
snake.
Where's the snake head? That someone hasn't thrown it into the woods or something, which could happen. I'm fully aware of that.
Sorry, I have to go, but thumbs up for
That's
community.
okay. I got here. High five. All right.
Thanks, Sharon.
Penny, would you be interested in helping us like create the first post or whatever? Just to make sure that we're getting the right message out there? Rocky?
I love it.
Yeah.
The only
I like
snake
Rocky.
that I am not afraid of, so.
Well,
It's right in front of the library when you walk in.
and then if kids want rocks, I'm not going to volunteer his stuff, but Summers Landscape Supply would maybe give you guys a 5-gallon bucket of rocks, and then they can come to the Parks and Rec to get the rocks, decorate them, and then go on this tour.
I love that.
And we have a whole bunch of captive children every day at the summer camp. So that gives them one thing to work on as a unit, as a well-behaved unit.
Nothing can go wrong with paint, right? No, they love projects, I'm sure. So something we can just say that, like, you want a motion to implement the community snake project for 2026?
Sure. Yeah.
I make a motion to implement the painted snake project at Community Park.
I'll second that.
All right, motion, yep.
Could
Motion
we,
second.
I would be interested in a time where we could meet over there and just kind of talk location for where you're thinking, and then like just how we're gonna roll this out, you know, like when we want to do it. You said you would be willing to make Rocky the rock snake sign, and then we can,
Figure out
yeah.
where that would be.
Okay,
I'll be there tomorrow.
I'm off tomorrow.
Oh, you just say when. I live a block away.
All right, so we have a motion and second for Rocky the Snake Project. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, any abstained, motion carries. Then we'll move then to, thank you, Penny, for bringing this up. I think it's gonna be fun to watch. Item 10, then the Shady Grove Park update.
Shady Grove Park is open. We opened last week, was it? Yeah, last week. Just got some stuff out on social media. Later that day, I went over there was easily 20 kiddos playing on the playground. So I was super excited to see that it was being used. Still have some things that need to be fixed. And if you saw the post, we're going to end up probably closing for about a week in July. The gazebo will be installed at that point. That's middle of July is when that's going to be in. And then there's some concrete issues that need to be taken care of, some cracks that showed up without, showed up, period. So they're going to take some squares of concrete out of there. So we do need to shut down while that all happens. We got to let the concrete cure. And we have the benches in our possession, so we'll get the benches out there. But other than that, it's a functional park. And from all I can gather, people are enjoying it.
Awesome.
It's even more amazing in person.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah, it was, you didn't get a good sense of how tall that was on a piece of paper. It's really up there, yeah.
All right, thanks for that update. Glad to hear there's lots of kiddos enjoying. Any other questions on the Shady Grove Park? Otherwise, Sean, bring it on home with the director's report.
All right. Playground camp started June 22nd. We got 10 staff working there this summer. Granite Ridge has been awesome. They've been awesome to work with. We started our Start Smart Sampler program. So Riley created this one. Each week it's a different sport. This week we did T-ball, and we did it. It was supposed to be yesterday, but we got rained out, weathered out. So we did it today, and the kids got to be on the Miracle Field. So that was kind of cool. So we did that from 10 to 11. We've had good turnout for those. They can register for individual ones. They don't have to register for the whole thing. It's kind of like a drop-in a little bit. Tiffany Scar, our fitness instructor, got a large donation from Johnson Health Tech. So now we have a row bike, a stationary bike, some new dumbbells and weights. So our fitness room is expanding, or not expanding, getting smaller because we have more equipment in there. So new class, we got a new Live Well 55 Plus. That's going good. We're hoping to get more people in that. Tennis lessons started on the 16th. We got 4 great instructors, and our numbers are pretty good with that. We had, if you remember, a couple months back, we were talking about slopes and mowing and that sort of thing. We had a couple of demos this week, or over the last couple of weeks, on some new, or on some slope mowers. The guys really liked one of them. We were able to mow some things that we hadn't mowed to this point, like the Rugby Hill. We did a bunch at the Bark Park. that we haven't been able to touch, so we were able to do that. So you'll see that likely as a 27 budget request. And we're looking for a piece of equipment that can be multi-use so that we can use in the winter as well. And the nice thing about that particular one that we looked at is that Public Works can use it as well to mow said retention ponds. So that'll be coming back. Guys working, they helped out with Fireman's Fest a little bit, painted a concession stand down there, polishing a turd. They did a great job. Cleaned up the baseball field, and we just wanted to thank, I don't know if anybody had an opportunity to go down there either during the festival, but more importantly from our aspect after the festival, because the next day it didn't look like it had ever been there. So a big thank you to Kevin and the rest of the fire department staff and all the volunteers for doing that, because it was the best it's ever looked. So the only thing you could tell was where they drove, and that'll bounce back just perfectly. Kevin was in rolling stuff, and yeah, so we appreciate that. Staff worked with our pickleball community in cleaning the courts at Bakken Park, so that's it sounds like it's an easy ordeal, but it's not. It takes, what do we have, Penny? Five people down there, I believe, and then some park staff. So cleaning 8 courts is a big deal, and we would, to be completely honest, it wouldn't happen if we didn't have volunteers, because there isn't another community around here that cleans their courts. So that worked out awesome to get that taken care of. And then in the forestry world, and James is here, a couple things we want to talk about, but most importantly, we planted 16 trees this season in our spring plant. Most were replacement trees, but we did have a few new ones that went in there. James will be starting EAB treatments in July, and as he hinted before, we're kind of thinking that this may be the last time that we treat these things. It's really expensive. James, why don't you jump in and talk about all things EAB?
Yeah, so I started treating the emerald ash borer in 2016. It showed up in Detroit through shipping in 2008, and it took that long to be found here in Cottage Grove. So I started treating in 2016. The new forest management plan came out in 2020, and by 2021, we switched from 2-year treatment to 3-year treatment based on the forest management plan. And now that I'm in the field as often as I am, I'm not hearing the woodpeckers, I'm not seeing the split bark on the trees, I'm not seeing the flecking from the birds going after any larvae. So going forward, it would not only free up more than 2 months of my time in the summer to treat all these trees, it would save a lot of money and frees up all that time for me to be doing other things. Because it's literally, as soon as I come into work, I treat, and I have to clean the equipment every day so the equipment isn't plugged up the next morning. And I just go and get it done over 2 and 2.5 month time period. So going forward, if we can stop treatment, it would be more of a spot treatment. If I happen to see something that I really want to save, which would be the autumn purple ash, which are the really nice ones. The blue ash are not affected at this point, and the white ash are worth keeping, and it's the green ash that could go. They're not the best looking, and they're the most susceptible to the and the forest management plan, of course, calls for removing a handful every year to get the numbers down. And inevitably, every time we remove a tree, it's a green ash that's had too much pressure on it. So, and it's showing more dieback than any of the other ash trees. So.
Really just wanted to let you know, as James mentioned, this is basically 2 months of his summer that he's out there doing that. Has it been wasted? No, it hasn't been wasted at all, but we're just kind of feeling like, James feels like things have moved on and we can, better use his time. And that kind of leads into part of the next thing, is that with that new Newman or Juniper Ridge, is it Ridge? Hills. Fields, can never get that right. Juniper Fields, we are going to be doing the tree planting in-house. So typically the developer did that, and we kind of lost control of when they were planted, how they were planted. We don't like a fall plant for trees because we get a 1-year warranty. And that fall plant, you know, we don't really get a good sense of, is that tree established? Is it going to make it, you know, through that short growing season that we get? So we're going to try doing that in-house, and that's going to eat up a lot of our time. So we're kind of looking at ways to get away from that, and James feels comfortable. So just kind of wanted to get your feedback if you had any, you know, thoughts or issues. Otherwise, we're going to treat this year. We haven't spent any money on chemical. We had some left over from last year, but we just wouldn't purchase any more except, as James mentioned, as needed for here and there moving forward. So unless you guys have a problem with that, that's the kind of the direction we're going to go.
I guess I just have a question. I love ash trees, they're so beautiful. So is the thought that EAB isn't, like the green ash then is the more susceptible? And I mean, will ash trees be able to make it? Like, will they kind of have a comeback? I haven't done a lot of recent research about EAB, but.
Just based on my experience, we've had trees that had the bark splitting. We know the larvae was in the tree, but there was no dieback. And what's happening is you can still treat that tree and the bark splits heal over. And as long as you're not losing the foliage to big dead branches, the trees heal over, and so far so good. We haven't lost any really nice trees. It's all been smaller trees that green ash that could go. It wasn't a big deal. So
Sure. Do you think, like, I mean, can you plant ash? Like, do they sell ash trees now?
no,
or
the
you
nurseries
can't?
haven't sold ash trees in a long time.
Yeah. Do you think that they'll ever be able to? I don't.
That's a good question. I have not asked a rep from McKay's, who I deal with a lot, on that. It's possible, but it still is lingering around.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, they're just so beautiful in the fall.
and like I mentioned before, the proactive thing would be to possibly request homeowners. I've got 12 that I know of left that are lingering half dead. They're not worth treating, so it would be a removal request. And it would just be in a good faith effort, not a mandate at this point.
Those are private ash trees.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good information. I appreciate it. Yeah, because I remember first hearing about it. You know, I lived in the Chicago area, so I think it probably hit there first before
Before it made it here, yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. Other questions on trees or anything else in Sean's report? I guess my question then, the juniper field, so in the developer agreement, I assume then there'll be something about an allotment that they pay for the street trees? We just control the planting of them?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
What we've asked for is basically $350 a tree, and we're thinking like a 2-tree minimum per lot. So per the ordinance, it's every 50 feet is what we think that we're gonna plant them. So yeah, it'll be money that comes in, and then we will, the idea is that we will plant it kind of when we want and when we're comfortable with it. And maybe not, it wouldn't be the whole subdivision at a time. We would do a phase, you know, kind of follow them and get those in the ground. And yeah, that's the goal.
I would add to that my experience with in each phase, depending on how fast lots sell, it's advantageous to plant it would be easier on myself and whoever is helping me plant trees to do plantings in say the spring and even the fall, if things move along fast enough, to plant smaller increments of trees that are ready to be planted, rather than wait for the whole phase to end, and then we're overwhelmed planting too many trees in a small amount of time, depending on weather, if it's in the fall or so.
Yeah, that they're under, I gotta get these trees in, and rather than when it makes sense for the planting. Yeah. I think that's great.
Yeah, and just making sure that it's done at the correct time, meaning that driveways are established. I mean, that's what happened to us a little bit at Shady, is that the trees got in sooner than some of the driveways. They had to come out or be moved. So it's just giving us a little bit more control over when and where.
Great. Any other questions or comments on the director's report? Okay, then we have item 12, future agenda items. So we'll have some more on cottonwood trees. We'll have the planning for juniper fields.
Juniper
hills?
fields forever.
Yeah, they could have a theme song.
Throwing it in my head, yeah.
So for the planning for that park, we'll have, I feel like there was something else.
I would like Outlot 5 on there. I wanted to have it for tonight, but things occurred.
All right.
But I will have it for next time.
All right, so Outlot 5. And are we gonna start talking about capital Fireman's Park? Something capital to start talking about there.
Yeah, I don't know whether that'll make it for this year or
Okay.
not.
Okay, but I mean, not planning, but just
Yeah.
the intro. Okay, all right. Cameron will probably be here to talk about budget
Yep,
or
I
something.
think Cameron is coming back, and then I'll throw in a Shady Grove update too, because we should have everything wrapped up by the time we meet, I'm hoping anyways. So,
Okay. Does anybody else have anything for future agenda items? All right, hearing nothing else, all we have left, item 13.
I will make a motion to cease this event.
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn, non-debatable. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thanks so much, everybody. Appreciate it.
Recording stopped.